Are you looking for a program to start a business, grow an existing one, or manage your personal finances? Your search stops right here. Join Mukonke from Inside Partners Africa every Tuesday at 07:20 hours on the Director Access Show, a program that gives you the best and most practical, actionable insights.
So good morning and welcome to another edition of the Ndalama Insights radio show. This is a show where we discuss all things personal finance. And of course, today we're tackling a big question, which is escaping the debt trap. Is financial freedom even possible? I think this is a civil servant song really today. So that's what we're looking at today. Debt is a reality for many Zambians, whether it's personal loans, payday advances, or even informal borrowing from loan sharks. People find themselves stuck in an endless cycle of borrowing and struggling to pay. Why does this happen? And more importantly, how can you break free? To help us unpack this, we have our regular financial expert with us in the studio, Mukonki Mukonkela from Inside Partners Africa. Mukonki, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Leslie, and good morning to you and good morning to the listeners out there. It's always a pleasure being here, Leslie.
Yeah.
And today's topic is quite crucial because it affects a lot of people at different income levels. Even those that we think have money actually struggle with this. And so it's important for us to discuss it and see if we can start finding solutions. I'm sure you've heard people complaining, particularly online, about how this debt they borrowed suddenly grew and it seems not ever to be able to be paid off because it keeps accumulating. So yeah, very
Mhm.
important.
Quite sad, really.
mm,
That's why you hear me say that it's a civil servant song, this one.
mm,
It even affects everything, including your investing. It just affects everything, your quality of life, and so on and
yes.
so forth. But as we go deep into the solutions of this, first, let's understand how do people get trapped in debt in the first place? Because you would think that they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah, and you know what, I'm actually trying to do a research and a documentary around this, but what I've found out so far is that often debt starts as a simple loan. Somebody is perhaps facing an emergency or a major life event. Maybe they are getting married and they want funds to, for their wedding, and then slowly they get a simple loan 1 month. Before you know it, they've repaid that, and then they get another one. And sometimes, as they get the second one, they start struggling because of high interest rates. They didn't think about their budget or their finances carefully. They were not so sure about the total cost or the cost of the loan, and changes in interest rates and how they affect their loan. So many factors start coming into play from a simple loan that I had hoped to repay off and continue on with my life. It suddenly starts accumulating into a big loan that I cannot manage all of a sudden. And these are some of the reasons. And then we see also lenders, they're available. We have payday loans that are on the market, and these are and also informal borrowing like from loan sharks at extremely high interest rates. So whereas you're looking for a loan, we also have lenders that are ready for you all the time that might not be there to really help you but make things worse for you. So that's the situation many people find themselves in. So a simple loan turns out to be something that I suddenly cannot manage, and it even starts affecting my personal life as well.
Mhm. And the
Yeah.
major beneficiaries of this cycle that you find yourself in
Mm.
is lenders.
Yes, that, of course, even you who's borrowing, Leslie, you also benefit. But then at what expense? It's absolutely correct to say that many financial institutions and loan sharks, payday lenders, have actually benefited massively from people's being stuck in debt. Because from the research I've done, if you have a client who's constantly using your loan and never being able to repay it back, that is the ideal client for these financial institutions, because here is a person who's always borrowing. is never repaying back, and their interest on the loan is always accumulating. So this is the kind of person we can make good profits from. And so we need to really be cautious, even as we are trying to borrow, and understand that we should not borrow to sustain a lifestyle, because other people borrow because they want to sustain a certain lifestyle that they could not have afforded had the loan not been available, but they still go ahead and get a loan for consumption. When you are borrowing, we need to remember that loans should be used to make a return, make some profit, so that we can be able to afford to repay it back. Another thing, Leslie, is before you take out a loan, you need to be able to compute or calculate whether you can actually afford it. I know for a number of people, you are talking about civil servants. For a number of people, the fact that I can qualify to get a loan is the only factor that I'm considering. But as a matter of fact, you need to consider quite a number of things, including the interest rate on the loan. What type of a loan are you getting? Is it based on a fixed term rate, or is it based on a variable rate, such that whenever Bank of Zambia revises the MPR, your interest rate on the loan also goes up. So there are certain things you need to understand. It's not just about I qualify because I'm a civil servant, because I work for this prestigious company that is recognized, and because I am able to get this loan. And some would even offer you, what's your salary? Oh, it's 10,000. Okay, we can give you maybe 40, 50,000. But your income is 10,000. How are you going to afford to repay back that loan? These are questions we really get to ask ourselves, even as we try to make our lives better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's talk about the real cost of debt. Like what happens when someone keeps borrowing without a clear repayment plan?
So debt affects people in many ways. In the recent past, Leslie, you've heard of people that actually committed suicide because they were unable to pay their loans. So for me, no wonder I'm actually today I'm speaking very calmly, as you've noticed, because you see, when somebody is indebted, they are owing somebody or a financial institution money, they are really under stress, and they are constantly worrying how they are going to repay back this loan. And unfortunately, with the harsh economic environment, there seem to be no solutions to help you get rid of this burden, this debt, and it keeps adding on to the stress. And if you are in a relationship, you are married, it even makes it worse if you've hidden this loan from your partner, and then they later on discover that my wife or my husband has got this loan, and we are unable to meet our household expenditure because of a loan that my partner has gotten that I wasn't even aware of. So debt is quite expensive in this way because it really results in a lot of financial stress, and it also reduces your future income because you have to start repaying it back, particularly where the interest up, and as a result increasing your loan amount. So those are some risks. Another one is where we've seen people losing their assets, property, so houses, household goods like fridges, cars. A lot of people have lost their property because they were unable to repay back their debt. And so this is actually the high cost of borrowing. Other than even talking about the interest rates and whatever, there's actually these are the hidden costs of borrowing that we need to spend some time to think about even before we can approach a lender to lend us money. Mm.
Now, the apparently the good news is that there is a way out. But let's get into the solutions. A lot of people listening right now, I can almost assure you, are quite stuck.
Yeah.
So what's the first step towards escaping this debt trap?
I always like to say that whenever you are facing a difficult situation, it's always important for you to acknowledge that you are in this mess, you are stuck. Acknowledge that you are stuck, and face your finances head on. Many of us are afraid to look at our finances, to look at our bank statements, to look at the monies that we have, how we make it. When you are indebted, it's time to face your finances head on, and this requires you to do an analysis, list all your debts. How many people are you owing? How many organizations are you owing? What are the interest rates on these loans? And can you go sit down with them and negotiate a repayment plan? Sit down with them and agree a repayment plan that is suitable to you and how you make your money. How does your money come in, and how can I repay these loans so that it's not stressful on my end? And also, it might call for you to reduce on unnecessary expenditure. You cannot, if you've got a loan, a big loan or too many loans, you cannot continue living this fancy lifestyle as though you can actually afford that loan. It requires you to start cutting off certain expenditures so that you can repay off that loan as quickly as possible. Because the longer it takes you to repay it back, the more expensive it becomes. Remember, every time the MPR goes up, if you are on a variable interest rate base in terms of your loan, even your loan goes up. That's why you find yourself in a debt trap because of the increasing interest rates. So you need to review your expenses, reduce on your expenses, and where you find that your income is very low, consider increasing your income. Start doing extra work somewhere so that your income can also go up, so you can start affording to repay back the loan. There are also certain methods of repaying back loans that are out there. When you list your loans, Leslie, and you find that there's a very expensive loan in terms of the interest rate, you could target that expensive loan, target repaying it off. So if you've got, for instance, 3 loans, one is at a 7% interest rate, the other one is at a 20% interest rate, the other one is at a 15% interest rate. You should target the one at 20%. Target repaying the one at 20% off as quickly as possible. And once you repay it off, then you start repaying off the smaller one. So that is a method that is called the avalanche method in terms of debt management. So you are targeting the highest interest rate loan. You could also start with the smaller ones to give you some motivation. This is called the debt snowball. So you're starting with a small interest rate loans, and once you pay off that small interest rate loan, you can then use the money that you used to pay for that smaller one to start paying the next one until you repay off all your loans. So yes, if you're starting with a smaller one, you're trying to motivate yourself because you see that, oh, I was able to repay back that loan for that ABC, whatever. Now I can repay back this other loan, and that gives you motivation and the momentum to keep going until you repay back all your loans. So those are some of the approaches you can utilize in order for you to manage your borrowing. Because at the end of the day, I personally would love to see you come out of this debt trap and start looking at the most important aspect of money management, which is building wealth. And you cannot build wealth if you are debt trapped.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's one of the hardest things to do, actually. Even just thinking straight. I've always had this joke that you see, if you've got a problem for 3,000 kwacha, your thinking only goes as far as making 3,000 kwacha. So the moment you get rid of the problem for 3,000 kwacha, then your mind can think about making 10,000 kwacha.
Exactly.
But for as long as your problem is 3,000 kwacha,
Exactly.
that will be what occupies your mind. Even the ideas you think about are only limited to how do I get the 3,000 kwacha.
That's absolutely.
It stops you thinking completely.
That's absolutely right, Leslie. That's why we need to find solutions to this, because it's a real problem, and we might simplify it on this program, but the only other way, I think, is to face your finances head on, as I've said, and we start implementing the solutions that we are suggesting on this program. We're not saying it's not
easy.
We're not saying it's easy. For me, I actually the stories that I've heard so far, and it's quite sad actually. But yeah.
It's quite a road to take, but once you take it, it's a beautiful ending.
Yeah.
But let's talk about financial freedom. Financial freedom really is the goal at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think we go through our whole lives looking for financial freedom. So is it actually possible, or are we just chasing a dream?
So for those that are in debt, the question really would be, you would wonder, can I even attain financial freedom? I'm stuck in this trap. So the only way to get away from this trap is what we've already discussed, but also add on investing, saving and investing. So no wonder we talk about building an emergency fund. An emergency fund is money that you set aside that is meant to help you when you are in dire need or when you are faced with an emergency. And most of the times, research actually shows that many people go out to borrow because they are facing an emergency that wasn't planned. So it's very important that you start setting aside money at least to cover 3 months of your living expenses or 6 months of your living expenses. That savings, you don't need to do it at a go. You need to just start saving a little bit until it accumulates to this good amount. In addition to the emergency fund that you would have built, you also need to start investing money. So yes, you are in debt, you are owing money, but as much as you are repaying off your loan, I also really recommend that you also setting aside a small amount of money for emergencies, but also for investing. So you can create a step-by-step process. You can start with like build an emergency fund. Once I'm done with the emergency fund, I start saving to start investing. And investing in what? You can start with buying shares on the Luce. You can start by buying JRZ bonds from the Bank of Zambia. And you, you can also start by buying unit trusts, because if you are just a beginner and you are not sure about shares and bonds, unit trusts are a good starting point, because you can do small contributions to the unit trust fund, and then regularly, depending on the fund purpose, you can get some income from this investment. And that is how you start changing your dynamics and start thinking about not borrowing but growing your own money, so that ultimately, once you've paid off your debt, you can start sustaining yourself from your emergency fund and from your investments. That is the long-term solution to this debt trap.
Mhm.
Yes.
And they say, if you get paid 5,000 kwacha, your debt is, in a month you have to pay out 4,000.
Mm-hmm.
Close your eyes and spend another 500 on investments. I mean, you're already paying out 4,000.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
it, it will look like it's a lot of money, but it
Mm-hmm.
will accumulate pretty quickly too. Yeah. But anyway, today I think we're talking about a very, very important subject. And this is a topic that is very close to a lot of people's situations right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy at all to get out of debt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but once you're out of it, I guess you're home and dry. As we close off the show, your last word to our listeners.
Thank you, Leslie. I would like to end by saying that the struggle is real. So William Kapia is online. He's saying the struggle is real. The struggle is real, and it's understandable. However, consider what we've recommended on this program and start taking it a step at a time. You can get out of the debt trap and attain financial freedom. And if you want further information, or you would want to get in touch with me, I'm actually interested in those that are struggling to repay off their loans. You can actually get in touch with me. This is an exclusive number, particularly for this. So it's 097 28 49 49 2. 097 28 49 49 2. I want to hear from you, particularly those that are struggling to repay off their loans, because I'm solution focused. I would want to understand what is going on and how we can start finding solutions to the debt trap that many are in.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, Konke, thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you so much, and good morning.
Great. This has been the Ndalama Insights radio show. Until next week.